I have a complete update of what happened at the crypto summit inside of the White House. This video will have all kinds of information from the summit, a little bit about what's happening around XRP and why this could be extremely bullish. What is next for Ripple and XRP after the US admitted it has no money to buy XRP, Solana, or ADA? I also have some really cool information about banks getting the green light to hold XRP and some new things happening in Japan with XRP and taxes. You have to listen to this whole video. If you haven't seen this first video I did, basically breaking down all the news of what happened around, the events earlier today and yesterday, watch that first and then come to this or whatever. All right. So Brad Garlinghouse says this after the summit. He says, some weeks feel like months in crypto. This is one of them. From the White House Crypto Summit to the CFTC Roundtable and the sheer amount of news announced. Hooray for Nat Crypto Association. I think this is Stuart Alderoty's, he's heading up this. It's been quite a few days. There has been a lot of talk about this White House there's been a lot of talk about what this White House has and will prioritize with their crypto agenda. Most importantly, regulatory clarity through congressional action, as well as Bitcoin reserve and crypto stockpile, support for stablecoin innovation backed by US treasuries, and more. I have some really important information about this coming up here that you cannot miss. He says, I was extremely pleased to see an incredible support from this administration. It's easy to get lost in some of the maxi intended noise, and there's so much more to this industry than infighting on one coin versus another, time wasting rhetoric. We will see, as we always have done, continue to champion the need for a level playing field. And it was great to hear others in this room echo that opinion as well, and for the industry to come together to move much needed legislation forward in the United States. And he said also, thanks to President Trump and the White House, David Sachs, Bo Hines, and Carolina Pham, who's the head of the CFTC for now. All right. And here is the look. President Trump is here. Here is Brad Garlinghouse next to the gentleman who is the founder of Chainlink. As you can see, there's a lot of really incredible people in the same room. This was a great clip put together by Bank XRP. Let me play this.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're all here today because of your leadership, your vision, and your generosity, and I really want to thank you for that. We're also here because of your desire to make America great and to introduce a golden age in America, including for digital assets. And we're here because of your love of innovators, or as you might say, high IQ people. We know you love high IQ people. And we have about 30 of them here in the room today. These are the top people in the digital asset industry. And one other thing that I think that you love is legal fairness. This is an industry that was subjected to prosecution and persecution for the last 4 years, horrible lawfare, and nobody knows what that feels like better than you do. So we really appreciate the fact that you understand legal fairness and that you're always willing to fight for the right thing, for legal fairness. You never back down. You stand defiant, even in the face of an assassin's bullet. It's an inspiration to everyone in this room, I think.
Listen, Trump has gathered some of the biggest names and faces in the crypto industry in the United States, hands down. This is a complete 180 from the Biden administration, who attacked the crypto industry for so many years. Yes, the US, Trump, David Sachs have announced that they don't have any money to buy XRP, ADA, or Solana, since it wasn't an act of Congress that approved money to buy these assets for a US stockpile. The US is just going to fall back on assets that it already confiscated or forfeitured. Like I said, please go to this video if you want all of those details. I lay it thick on in that video. Also, check this out. I thought this was a great clip, again, by Bank XRP. Follow Bank XRP if you're not. Let me play this.
Welcome to the first ever White House Digital Assets Summit. Last year, I promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we're taking historic action to deliver on that promise.
Your administration is moving at tech speed.
We are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stable coins to do that.
Technology is at the foundation of the Trump presidency.
This is truly a historic day, and as a crypto founder, I couldn't be more proud to be part of your administration.
No one in this room could have envisioned this just a couple years ago.
We want to stay at the forefront of everything. This is a big day. Being in the White House is a big deal, and you have great support. Thank you all very much.
All right, positives, right? I did want you to go back to this Scott Bessent quote. It's very important. I think I watched all of this, this rang the most in my ears. And so let's listen to it again.
Deliver on that promise.
Your administration is moving at
Dominant.
Here it is. Here it is. Listen to this very carefully.
We are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stable coins to do that.
We will keep the U.S. currency, the dominant currency in the world, and we will use stable coins to do that. Let me ask you this question, right? There are basically three of the biggest stable coins currently right now. You have USDT, USDC, and you have RLUSD. In the United States, I don't think USDT is going to have a footing since it is not a regulated asset. Now, if you're talking about the US government and the financial system using a stable coin, they're of course going to go with the highest regulated stablecoin in the United States, which is going to be RLUSD. I'm sure you will see USDC, Circle's stablecoin, also being used in a way, but you don't really get bigger than an approval from the New York Department of Financial Services. And that is in fact what Ripple has. If you're wondering why that's so important, every single month, RLUSD is overlooked and audited by NYDFS. That is something that no other stablecoin has that high of regulation to. So it's very, very important. So some of us are wondering, the US doesn't have any money for XRP and other assets. What is next, right? And I did a, 2.5 hour stream where I answered a lot of your questions. We had almost 3,000 people in that live stream. If you didn't, here it is, man, almost 10,000 views already. And it's only been out for 42 minutes. We had a lot of fun talking and answering your questions. But here is Rob Cunningham. Here he says, RLUSD frees our U.S. Treasury to quit the Federal Reserve's witchcraft called fractional reserve lending. With XRP now authorized to be held in custody by our U.S. Treasury with its free ability to use, Ripple can now donate, transfer, or loan XRP from its massive escrow reserve to our U.S. Treasury without violating the new executive order rules that restrict our Treasury's ability to acquire or purchase cryptocurrencies with taxpayer funds. What this is saying is Ripple can donate, lend, or transfer. I guess transfer and donate would probably be the same thing. Loan, you don't really have, I don't think a loan is probably good here because the U.S., how are they going to pay back the loan? Unless it's like 0 interest, pay us back, 10 years down the line. That could very well be. It says XRP's use and its deflationary burn is mandatory with every single RLUSD transaction in the world. Though RLUSD is the only lawful U.S. Treasury-backed digital dollar stablecoin comparable of delivering sound money, one-to-one asset-backed and 100% public transparency verified by certified collateral audit delivered by the New York Department of Financial Services on a monthly basis. Damn! It's good to know other people know what they're talking about. Man, Rob Cunningham, my hat's off to you, sir. Well done. Well said, sir. Well said indeed. With RLUSD adoption, there is zero ability for U.S. Treasury to engage in the Federal Reserve witchcraft known as fractional reserve lending, a banking practice where special people grant themselves permission to generate a 10x supply of money based on every customer dollar or deposit, and then charge borrowers interest based on fantasy money created out of thin air with the simple press of a computer keyboard button. I've heard gold ends the Fed. If only we could locate our gold. Welcome back to the constitutional sound money system, free from control of foreign Federal Reserve based on the City of London. Well, guys, a lot of really interesting points there. I do think Ripple is going to gift the US government XRP. That's really the only path forward we have here. I guess some other things that Rob said could be accurate, but It's probably going to be a gift. So here is something from 801 XRP. Ripple XRP fam, major crypto clarity from the OCC. The OCC just rescinded Interpretive Letter 1179, reaffirming that banks can legally custody crypto, hold stablecoin reserves, and use distributed ledger technology. This removes extra hurdles, streamlining the path for U.S. banks to integrate crypto into traditional finance while staying compliant. The financial system is evolving. Crypto is no longer on the sidelines. And here is that letter. I am not going to read this all to you. It's a lot of jargon, but feel free to pause the video and check it out. Appreciate you. Jack Rippler says, just in voluntary shares files 3 spot XRP ETFs. Guys, you are going to just get a ton of different XRP ETFs, spot ETFs. You're probably going to get bundled ETFs. They're going to find all kinds of different ways to bring in institutional money into XRP. Also, Smoke Dog says how banks adopting XRP for cross-border payments will drive up its price. They can either hold XRP, accumulating the asset, or source it from exchanges, boosting trading volume. Either way, demand increases as the network grows. Listen up.
Third is the ability to settle payments via a digital asset. XRP. XRP's speed, scalability, and cost make it the ideal bridge asset for cross-border payments. This allows banks to grow their payments volume and reach without accumulating more direct liquidity relationships. With XRP's trading volume at higher daily average than most exotic currencies, it makes it an ideal bridge asset for payments into exotic corridors. With this liquidity arrangement, each bank either holds XRP directly or leverages an exchange to source XRP. This serves as an on-demand, fungible liquidity pool that can be used for payments. RippleNet resolves today's liquidity pain points in these ways. It's more capital efficient.
All right, so really quickly here, a way that XRP can increase in price is by lowering the circulating supply. If banks and central banks, governments all around the world decide to buy XRP and hold XRP long-term, that will reduce circulating supply. Also, staking and other ways to lock up XRP will also reduce circulating supply. You also have this. Remember, Ripple Labs' business model is predicated on a belief that demand for XRP will increase. Ripple Labs' business model predicted on the belief that demand for XRP will increase if the Ripple protocol becomes widely adopted, which a lot of us believe that is the next steps. If and then Crypto Eerie put this out. If I were on the strategy team at Ripple, I propose an ongoing % of its monthly XRP release to the US stockpile, using the escrow to showcase XRPL technology from automatic, secure, traceable, tamper-resistant, irreversible distribution. I think you're absolutely right, Crypto Eerie. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I love to hear, I loved hearing you say that same thing that a lot of us are thinking as well. You also have this: Japan lowers XRP taxes. Is the US next? Here it is.
Japan, you have to think about SBI. SBI is one of the biggest companies out there. And one of the reasons why is their commitment and has been behind Ripple. And they continue to grow. They currently hold 9% share based on their actual holdings of XRP. Their stockholders are saying, hey, don't sell the XRP. Our stock will go down. We need to get more. So the stock continues to rise. So a lot happening right there. And then if you look at their CEO, every bank in Japan will use Ripple's XRP by 2025. Now, I don't know if they're referencing end of 2025 or what was, but this was a big headline that.
So if you believe what Crypto Eerie says, that she doesn't believe that Yoshitaka Kitao actually said this, and I know a lot of people do share this. I think in the early days I shared it as well, but I do want to just let you know that Crypto Eerie put out, and she is following XRP in Japan. She speaks Japanese. She would know. Just food for thought.
They've been touting for quite some time. All right, so this FinTech Summit happened just the other day, and you can take a look at some of the speakers here. One of the key speakers is the digital minister, who, by chance, had met with Brad Garlinghouse right there. If you take a look, met in Tokyo this week. Their leaders are committed to advancing crypto and blockchain technology. So you can see there is clear connection of what's happening within the Japanese regulators and also with what's going on with Ripple in general. I want to also go over to this right here because this is another thing that's happening, and this is Sony's bank wallet. All right, let's go over to another article. This was from You Today, and it's talking about Ripple meeting with the Japanese officials, and a couple of points within this. This was back in September, but if you look further in here, this is where they were meeting specifically with Tyra, right there. So you can kind of see that this has been planned for some time, and they were talking about a project. If you further on down in the article, this program, Wu continues, will be titled Project PAX. So it's going to be run by Progmat, Data Chain, Toki. One other note is Toyota's...
Okay, really quickly here, Ripple gifting XRP. Wouldn't it make sense if Ripple doesn't just gift XRP to the US government? You also have the EU working on a strategic reserve themselves. Ripple could gift XRP to the EU, the UAE, Japan, and other countries that plan on using XRP. Australia, right? You could do Switzerland, all of the above, right? Ripple has the power to bring the entire world to its blockchain, which is the XRP ledger for digital payments, tokenization, stablecoins, you name it. It's here, right? It is one of the highest sought after technologies. Ripple's blockchain infrastructure and Medico's custody solutions for crypto assets. Don't sleep on Brad Garlinghouse. He and Ripple have a plan, and they have some of the smartest people in the blockchain space and in general working for them. There is a whole machine working behind the scenes, and some days we do take a step back, but we need to look around at all of the incredible things going for us, right? I've never been this excited for the XRP community. That is me and you. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Have a good weekend. This will come out tomorrow on Saturday. I love you all. If you want to take your crypto journey to the next level and you want to join my crypto community, Cryptoneers, there's a link down in the description. We have hundreds of people from all over the world that are all working towards a common goal of finding projects early in the crypto space and getting that information early enough to make it a difference in their portfolio. I hope to see you around. The code is BULLRUN for that 50% off the first month. Aloha. I'll see you next time. I've been Crypto Sensei. Peace.